Hello, everyone. This is Helena, and I'm so excited to be talking with Bryan Reeves again today. Bryan is an amazing relationship coach, blogger, and author who helps men, women, and couples connect deeply with themselves so they can create and maintain a lasting connection and fulfilling relationship with each other. And I hope I said all of that correctly, Bryan. Okay, good. Welcome. Thank you so much for being on my channel again. I always have so much fun doing these interviews with you, and I can't wait to dive in today.
Good to see you, Helena. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
I'm just checking to make sure everything's okay. Yeah, looks like everything's good. You guys, if you're watching, feel free to say hi. Let us know where you're tuning in from, and any questions you have for Bryan and myself, we can try and get to some of those. This is a really important topic. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 powerful ways to create a deep, lasting connection with a man without losing yourself in the process.
That's key.
And yes,
That's the
I
key.
love that. I love it. Yes, Bryan made sure that I put that in the title, without losing yourself. And I absolutely love that. I know that resonates so much with my audience. So let's just jump right in. First, I wanted to ask you, what are some challenges you see women, actually men and women, some challenges or they face or struggles when it comes to like creating a deep, emotional bond with each other?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges is we connect differently. We experience connection differently. We get to connection differently. There are just different hormonal things happening in our bodies. And so one of the biggest misunderstandings that I see is that's in a sense all we're ever really wanting to do, especially in intimacy, is feel connected. But because we're coming at it from very different through a different value system almost. And again, we're going to talk in a heterosexual context. Please understand that nothing is this black and white, and what resonates with you, go with it. What doesn't, throw it out. But these things go in all directions, but I'm going to frame it very in a heterosexual male-female context. But men, we tend to connect shoulder to shoulder, like doing things together, accomplishing, producing, getting shit done, hunting, sporting, throwing a ball, trying to get a ball down a field together, or teaming up to solve a big problem at the office or the business, the workplace. And women can do all those things and enjoy that too, but women, connection happens through being face to face with each other, through conversation, through interaction with each other. It doesn't have to be a point, like a purpose for why we're doing it. Just doing it is very connecting. And so you see this happens a lot in relationships where, again, framing it, because the way we frame this man, woman, but where a woman tends to just be with me. I just want to be in the experience. She never says these words, but, it sounds like, listen to me. You're not listening to me. Or he's thinking, well, you're talking and there must be a reason to this. Like, what's the point of us talk? Where are we trying to get to with this conversation or with this thing? We must be solving something, or why are we doing this? So you see these misunderstandings, and then it just becomes a shit show because everyone means well, and yet we're creating hell together.
Totally. Oh my gosh. I love everything you said. It just resonated with me personally so much. And for everyone watching, you guys, thank you so much for your comments and questions. We're definitely going to try and get to some of those throughout this video, and especially at the end. Something I found a lot, Bryan, I don't know if you see this as well with clients and women who, watch my videos on YouTube and that kind of thing. They try to create a connection with a man by like talking about things, talking about the relationship. And it really spoke to your point. Do you see that as well? And what can a woman do? Because I get it, that frustration, because we as women want to just connect and talk things out, right? Whereas men, just like you said, connect in a different way. Can you speak a little bit into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's very important. Talking is important. You can't have a relationship if there's no talking. So,
right.
But it's important to know that in a woman's body, oxytocin gets released. Oxytocin is what we know as the bonding hormone. Oxytocin gets released through conversation, through, in the love language terms, through words of praise. Often that feels, her body feels good in that interaction, especially when it's a positive interaction, and oxytocin gets released and she feels viscerally good. Doesn't happen that way for a man's body. In fact, you know, working with the love languages a lot, I find so many men, their love language is touch. Not to say that a woman's isn't, but so many men, the reason is because when we touch, that's when oxytocin gets released. We feel more bonded and connected through touch. So having a conversation is great and it's important, but for many men, it's not necessarily connecting unless we're connecting over philosophy, over ideas, over perspective. You know, we can argue about politics and ideas and all these things, and it's blissful. But usually, that's not at all what our woman wants to talk about in relationship. So, we wanted to talk about the relationship. I mean, there's a lot of layers to this, but again, you see, I mean, men, we love to talk. It's just that talking about relationship doesn't make sense to most men, because so long as you're not bleeding or starving, you're not on fire, and we don't have to call the police for anything, then hey, everything's good. We're connected, right? What's the problem? What are we talking about the relationship for? Relationship's fine. I'm here, aren't I? You know, what do you want from me? I'm showing up. I'm present. What the hell do you want? And she wants his presence, his engagement, his attention, his presence, but all he's giving her is his presence. Does that make sense?
Totally. Oh my gosh, yes. And I'm like cracking up over here. I'm trying not to laugh too hard because I know the camera switches back, but because I have been there so many times. Like we just want more from men often, right? Like we want to feel more connected. So that I love everything you said. Again, everyone, that it's resonating with everyone so much. You guys, thank you for your comments. Let's jump in. What is that first way that a woman can create that deep connection with a man?
So this is going to be very counterintuitive at first, but I want to lead with this because it's so important, and I'll explain why. But if you want to create genuine, deep connection with a man without losing yourself, especially, and that was so important. I want to make sure that was part of this title. Here's number one: have boundaries. Have boundaries. And here's why. As I said, it's counterintuitive, because you would think, well, boundaries means, well, if we can't connect. Well, I didn't say have walls. Walls keep everything out. Boundaries allow the good stuff in and keep out the bad stuff. Because if you're allowing in the bad stuff, whatever that looks like, maybe it's the way, well, we can get into that in a minute, but when you're allowing in the bad stuff, you're not even connected to yourself. You're in defense mode. Your body's under stress. Your body closes. And particularly as a woman, you open through relaxing. And if you don't have good boundaries, again, this is for you. If you don't have good boundaries, then you can't relax and you won't be able to authentically connect with the man. But here's the other thing, Alina, and again, this is counterintuitive, but when you have boundaries, then that man has to, you know, we men love challenge. There's a reason, you know, professional sports teams don't play high school teams. It would be boring. It wouldn't be any fun. So we just cream the opposition. We men need challenge. We need, because when we rise to a challenge, we feel good about ourselves. We feel good about it. I mean, look, even the way my body is, I was just talking about it. My body was just moving upwards. Like I could feel it in my own body. And there's a difference between playing games and having boundaries. I'm not interested in games. Games suck for everybody, right? It's not about making him run around and try to accomplish all these things so that he can prove himself worthy of you. That's bullshit games. I'm talking about boundaries that are honoring of you.
Amazing. Yeah. And you guys, Bryan, if you don't know already, is like the boundaries expert. He did a whole program called the Boundaries Program, Relationships Suck Without Boundaries. That's in the description right now if you want to go check that out. We recorded a video, I believe it was sometime last year, about boundaries that got such a phenomenal response. I've never seen such an amazing response. So I'll actually put a link to that too if you guys want to check that out. We go really in depth about boundaries there. For the purposes of this one, can you give a couple quick examples? Maybe one, you know, for someone who's just dating a man, or one, you know, who's for a woman who's like in a long-term relationship.
Totally, absolutely. Well, I'll give you an example. So, okay, so my partner, when we first started dating, I mean, probably in the first month we were together, I was traveling a lot, and she was in LA, I was in New York, and I would call her once a day just, at the end of the day, I didn't want to, she's 3 hours behind me and I didn't want to wake her up. And so I'd get into my work day and then it'd be, 6 o'clock, I'm done. I'm in New York, she's in LA. And then I'd call her. After a few days of this, she told me, this doesn't really work for me. I don't know where you are during the day. It just doesn't feel good. I don't know what's happening. And for me, again, she's not bleeding. We talked last night. Everything was fine. She don't have to call the police. If something's wrong, she'll call me. My mind's like, everything's okay. But she was very clear to me that I need to talk with you. Like, for me to feel good and safe in what's happening while you're traveling, especially, I'd like to talk twice a day. That was a boundary. She told me right up front, this is what I need. She didn't tell me you have to call me. And actually, this will go into our second one, but I won't go there yet. She didn't say you have to call me. She said, this is what I need to feel safe and to feel grounded in what's happening.
You know what I love so much about that? She's so clear. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
Bryan, I have to tell you, that's one of the number one questions I get from women. It's around contact. And this is how much contact I need, and it's not really happening. Should I say something? And I love how straightforward that was. At the same time, it wasn't a demand. She wasn't telling me what to do. It was like an invitation. That's kind of how it felt to me.
Absolutely. I make a big distinction between being an invitation to relationship, being an obligation to relationship. Nobody wants to do relationship under obligation. But invitation, well, now, and here's the other thing, that when I was single and dating before I met her, I remember there was a woman that I dated, I don't know, maybe a year before I met Sylvie, and just very briefly. And I kind of knew immediately that this wasn't going to be a relationship I wanted to show up for. And she told me after I didn't call her for a couple of days or something after our second date, I think. And she was like, I don't really like not hearing from you. And I remember being clear, well, that's all I can give right now. That's all I'm interested in giving. And so, it ended. It didn't go anywhere. Had she not put up that boundary, we probably would have dated longer, and it just would have been more frustrating for both of us eventually, because the resentment would have built. I mean, just so you see, if you put up a boundary that is about honoring yourself, it's an invitation to meet you where you want to be met, not a demand, but an invitation. Some men are not going to take you up on the invitation, and then good riddance. Why would you want that man around anyway?
Exactly. Yeah. I love how you talk about boundaries so much. It's just, you want to see what a man does. It's not to try to force a guy to do what you want. It's to see does he step up, right, in the connection or not. And that's going to give you a lot of information about where he's at, how interested or capable he is, right, of being able to honor those boundaries.
I think it's so important that, again, a distinction, 3 powerful ways to create deep connection with a man who's ready for deep connection, with a man who wants to show up, and I believe on some level, all of us men in our deepest hearts are yearning to love, to show up for love, but not just for any woman. I mean, it's like in the same way that you as a woman, you don't want to just deeply connect with any man. I think there's something to be said for timing, for a partnership that really you're both into. But if you don't have boundaries, it doesn't even stand a chance. If my partner didn't tell me about that boundary early on in our relationship, and I want to acknowledge it wasn't comfortable for me. I didn't just jump for joy and go, oh, goody, she wants me to call twice a day. No, it was fucking uncomfortable for me for a minute. Like, oh, okay. Well, but I'm going to stretch. I'm going to lean into that. And, we can just talk about that forever. But
it's such a great example. We're getting a couple questions about long distance relationships. Do you mind if I read them really quick before we move on? Because they're really relevant. Someone says, sometimes talking is the only option. I'm in a long distance relationship. So if I just lean back and be silent, how can we connect? I hope you can talk about that and how to connect via phone. Someone else said, same here, long distance relationship, leaning back. He's pulled away. I'm trying to get him to reconnect with me. Do you have any tips for how to apply that in that situation?
Absolutely. But first off, in a long distance relationship, it's so important that you have daily connection rituals. It can be a few minutes, but you have to be feeling, you have to create connection every day, or you don't have a relationship. Maybe you have a lover, but you don't have a partner. Big difference between a lover and a partner. So And again, it's where boundaries come into play. You can have agreements. Agreements is another word, but somehow you've got to create connection rituals. And that can be anything from, like with my partner and I, for us, the connection ritual was talking twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. And again, I will tell you that when we spoke in the morning, this is when we were long distance across the country for about a month. It's not a long time, but still, it matters, especially at the beginning of a relationship. Um, when we first had that morning conversation, for me, it was, okay, yep, I called, dial, hey babe, how you doing? Yep, did you sleep good? Yep, everything okay? You feel good? Yep, okay. All right, what you doing today? Good, okay. All right, great, bye, click. How do you think that went over, Helena?
I bet she hated that. That was probably worse than if you didn't even call at all. That's my guess. Am I
Exactly. She hated it. She hated it. So, but again, she had to give me feedback that, oh, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you trying but yeah, I don't really think, it doesn't seem like you're really into it. Oh, okay. So I had to growl, get through my own frustration um, and again, this is what it looks like. Relationship, you don't just meet someone who just easily fits into your comfort zone and gets all your sensitivities and connects the way you connect. It doesn't happen like that. We do have to teach each other. And we do, one of the things that I often say is again, you don't get a partner that does it perfect. The best any of us can hope for is a partner who's willing to learn, even when it's uncomfortable. And it will be uncomfortable. So I just want to acknowledge that. But long distance relationship, the key is daily connection rituals, and have that conversation with your partner, and boundaries. If your partner disappears for a few days at a time, you have to be honest whether that works for you. You have to be honest
totally.
first with yourself and then with your partner. And if it doesn't work for you, then essentially what a boundary means is, and this is the difference. A boundary is really about honoring and nourishing and self-respecting and self-respect. It's not about controlling another person. It's about respecting and honoring yourself. And it's within this boundary that I feel safe to do relationship. Otherwise, if this isn't being met, if my partner, if we weren't going to talk twice a day at that point in our relationship, she was going to let go. She was willing to say, look, it's okay, but this doesn't work for me. So maybe, we'll reconnect again when you're not traveling and we can try it differently. That's how that conversation would have gone.
Amazing. Yes, I love it. And you got the comments and questions are so great. Let's jump into the second way, and then I'll kind
Yeah.
of weave these questions all throughout. But we had so
Yeah.
many questions about long distance. I just wanted to throw
Yeah.
that out there. So what's
Great.
that second way to connect deeply with a man?
So the second one, again, counterintuitive, which is why this is so much fun. You've never heard this before, probably, but so the first one is have boundaries. The second one, if you want to connect deeply with a man, honor his freedom. Honor his freedom, which again is like be an invitation, not an obligation, right? Think about it. The one of the specialties that I work with, one of the maps that I work with, is masculine and feminine intimacy. In any relationship, same sex or otherwise, is a dance of masculine and feminine intimacy. I don't mean man woman, I mean masculine and feminine. But most heterosexual relationships, a man, again, just by his physiology, the testosterone in his body, which is very focusing and very narrowing and blocks out oxytocin, most men tend to have more of a masculine value, which is the value of freedom. Look, it's through all our politics. Freedom is everywhere. The cliche best film ever, Braveheart for men, the most loved film for men ever, Braveheart. Freedom, give me freedom. Every pursuit where men tend to thrive, business, work, politics, sports, it's all about solving problems, science, solving problems and creating freedom from constraints. Women too, it's not exclusive to men. We all have that, but men tend to die for freedom. And same thing happens in relationships. One of the things that men really struggle with, and it's part, I work with relationships as a spiritual practice, because the greatest freedom can be found in intimacy with another. But there's a lot of shit we got to get through. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of our programming and different things. But what I want you to hear is that when you can acknowledge, and I did this actually, Helena, even in the first part around boundaries, acknowledging, look, he doesn't have to meet any of your requirements. He doesn't have to call you twice a day. He doesn't have to call you every day. He doesn't, like, honoring, he's a grown man free to live as he chooses. That right there, when you acknowledge that, you become an invitation. You drop the obligation, and all of a sudden, oh, his body, whew, and I work with this, you know, in couples, reminding them and presencing this need for him to really get that he is free to make his own choices. Ooh, something happens in his body. And that, in combination with your boundaries, sets up a dynamic that, for a man who's really ready and willing to grow and to lean into his challenges, wow. I mean, we're talking about deep connection and intimacy.
That is so important. I'm so glad you said that. I just have so much to say about that. We could just probably be here forever.
Sure.
I know we want to try to keep this on the shorter side. Yeah, I always say watch what a man does and see how that makes you feel, rather than trying to always steer it into some kind of direction, like how do I get him to do this or do that. We have some great questions about this.
And I want to just say, get those questions, but I want to say just one last thing about this, because the moment that you think he owes you something and you act like it, or you speak like he owes you something, he will recoil and he won't want to give it to you. Even if he does, it won't be coming from a free place. And I want you to think about it. You know, if he expects you to give him your body, because let's say he took you out to dinner, or he pays the bills, he goes to work, he does whatever his part is that he thinks to make this relationship work, or you've been married for 20 years and, you know, he just thinks you should give me your body. Does that inspire you to want to be close to him physically, intimately?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, it's a very similar thing. Yeah, I always say he doesn't owe you anything, right? Doesn't
Right.
owe you anything. And so, yeah, imagine it. I'm trying to imagine it the other way around. It's just kind of like, oh, get away from me, right? And
That's
I
right.
imagine that.
Doesn't feel good.
Right,
Absolutely
totally.
not. So
That's
that's
a
it.
good point.
So that's it. Invitation, not obligation. But go ahead. Questions. Let's
That's a
hear them.
great point. Yeah, absolutely. Abir says you're a genius and very funny. Thank you guys so much. This is resonating with everyone. Someone says, I get the feeling that my boundaries get in the way of his perception of his freedom. How do I balance these two?
Yeah. And they will. Look, relationship it does put a limitation on freedom to do whatever the hell we want to do. That's the nature of relationship. It is bonding. It is a binding agreement to do things a certain way. It's a myth to think otherwise. And that's something that, again, us men and women in your own way, like, we all need to, there's an evolution that happens in relationship where we go from functioning as a sole individual, just responsible for myself and no one else, to a two-person system where we are moving through the world together versus just me moving through the world together. And there is a growth process. It's not comfortable. I'm a big fan of getting support, working with a coach, working with a therapist, working with someone to help you navigate these things, because it's so easy, and men will do it. We'll fall on that, freedom sword. Again, we'll die for freedom. We'll die alone for freedom. And it doesn't serve us, and it doesn't serve the world. It doesn't serve our relationships, our children. And as I said earlier, the deepest freedom, when he learns that in honoring your boundaries, when they're your boundaries, not just attempts to control him, but they're genuinely just your boundaries, when he learns how to meet you in there and to create relationship with you, and he realizes, holy shit, I'm okay. I'm still free, I'm free because I'm choosing to honor her boundaries. She's not obligating me to. Whoa, an experience of freedom opens up in him that wasn't even available to him. Any man that partners with a woman is going to experience a limitation on his freedom in some way, shape, form, or another. There's no way around it.
I love how you said all that. Oh my gosh, that was so brilliant. Wow, I'm just like blown away by everything you said right now. There was one other related question from Lucy. How do you give a consequence if they refuse to honor the boundaries you set, such as asking for daily phone calls and you're married, so leaving would be too extreme? That's a good one. What do you have to say on that?
I think, yeah, consequences are very important. That's actually something that we talk about in in the boundaries program. By the way, I created that with my fiance, Sylvie Kukasian. She's an amazing marriage and family therapist, and find her on this. She's incredible. We created that together. So there has to be consequences. If there's no consequences to boundaries being violated, then your partner is just going to keep doing them because he's not going to take you seriously. He's not going to believe that it's okay. So she gets mad a little bit. Big deal. I can deal with that. The masculine can be with discomfort indefinitely. That's why mostly men go to war, which sucks. Everything about being in war. I was in the military, by the way. Everything about being in a trench, not eating good food, not getting sleep, like we can be uncomfortable indefinitely. So your emotions, while annoying, and this is like, we're going to go into the third one here in a minute, but your emotions, while they can be inconvenient for him, he can just slough them off. So there has to be consequences, and it could look as simple as, I actually was working with a woman in like Lebanon, and her husband would flirt with other long-term. They have 30 years together. Her husband would flirt with waitresses at restaurants. And even culturally, it's not that unusual, in certain sort of really, macho cultures that really put men on pedestals. They can get away with a lot. She was working on the concept. She wasn't going to leave the marriage because he flirted with women when they were, and I'm talking when she's sitting right there. But what she was going to do after communicating to him that I don't feel good. This isn't okay for me. If he kept doing it, she was going to leave the restaurant. She was going to leave the restaurant. She was going to walk out and get herself home. That's a consequence. He's not going to get to spend time with her if he's going to behave in these ways that are violating to her.
I love that's so interesting. That was such a great example. I can't tell you how many women I hear from where, the man is not, either flirting or staring at other women out in public, or even like over social media, or they have an ex or a friend that's a girl that they're in contact with. That was really, really helpful.
Yeah. You can be understanding that he may be drawn to other women. It's just it's a function of human nature. But you don't have to stay in his presence. You don't have to engage with him when he's doing things that are hurtful to you, nor should you. You should never give your body to a man who isn't honoring of you. Never, ever, ever. I don't care how long you've been married. If your body is feeling closed, and again, this is where it goes into not telling him what to do. Honor his freedom. If he wants to flirt with waitresses, fine. But it's not going to happen. You're not going to hang around for it. And if you play that out long enough, you're not going to be in the relationship for it. And he needs to know this.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was such a great example. Really helpful the way you explained that. And we're going to get to some of these earlier questions too that were really good. Because let's jump into this third way to connect deeply with a man.
Yes. So the third way, again, so counterintuitive. That's why I love this. I love this stuff because you never heard this before. But the third way is that you can remind him, especially if this is a man that you've been with for some time and you're trying to create connection, remind him to not try fixing your upset or your emotions. That is not because here's the thing. See, we men are the way our brains work. We take you literally. We take you at your word. You say something and we assume you mean it. And not that you don't, but when any of us are upset or triggered or something's happening, and especially, again, in a woman's body, her cycle, just the different hormonal variations that happen, you're feeling all kinds of things. It happens to men too, just not generally in the same extremes that it happens for most women. And what happens is, see, what you as a woman are really wanting, and you can totally challenge me on this, but what you're really wanting is to just be heard, to be witnessed, to be seen. But what happens in our brains is we think you're wanting to be helped, to be solved, like another problem. See, to the more masculine brain, the world just looks like an unending sea of problems to be solved, which includes you, by the way. And, we're looking at your emotional state as, oh, she's upset, must be a problem that needs to be fixed. And oftentimes we take it personally. If she's upset, especially if it looks like she's upset at me, it means I must have fucked up. I did something wrong and we can't find it. So anyway, whole rabbit hole we could go down in, but the point is just, you can tell him, use these words, you don't have to fix me. You don't have to fix me or even agree with what I'm saying right now, but you do have to hear me. Validate my experience, right? That's validating my experience. It's a big one. A lot of men get confused with validating your experience with agreeing with your conclusions or agreeing with your perspective. And we in relationships totally break down over this one thing right here. She just wants to be heard. One of my guests, I have a podcast called Men This Way that I just launched. One of my guests said it perfectly. He said, women want to be heard and men want to be right, but men mistake women wanting to be heard with women wanting to be right.
Oh, wow. Yes. Yeah, that is totally right on.
I'll say it one more time. It's a little tricky. Women want to be heard. Men want to be right. Men mistake women wanting to be heard with women wanting to be right. And I'm talking intimacy. I'm not talking about in the boardroom or in the legislature. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking in intimacy. And so you can remind him, hey, you don't have to fix anything. You don't have to, there's a lot of practices that when I'm working with couples, when in our work that I'm kind of skimming the surface here, because it really takes a lot of self-awareness for you as a woman to realize that I'm having an emotional experience and there's something coming up for me and I got to get it out. And as I said, again, take those first two what do we call them? The 2 tips or ways of connecting. Always honor his freedom. He does not have to do anything. The moment you tell a man he doesn't have to do anything, he can relax. Because we live in perpetual, remember, our identity is wrapped up in what we do. And when we think we have to do something, oh shit, all right, and relationship just feels like a giant problem, an unending problem that can never be solved. So what most men will do is in their frustration, just like, oh, I'm done. I'm out. I can't figure you out. I can make you happy for a minute, but then you're just going to have another emotion and I can't figure it. I'm out.
Oh my gosh, I'm totally laughing over here because I am so what woman has not experienced that from their man, right? Oh my gosh, yes. I love everything you said. I can't remember who it was, but I was interviewing another male relationship coach a couple years ago, I think. And he said that his partner also, does what we do. So works from home. Mm-hmm. He said something his partner did that he really liked was say, hey, I just need you to listen to me for like the next 10 minutes. I don't need you to solve anything. Mm-hmm. This isn't going to go on forever. And then he knew, like, he was so clear. It wasn't like, well, how long is this conversation going to go and pull me away from what I'm doing? And that was, that always stuck with me. I thought that was a really good way to do it.
That's right.
Yeah. Everything you said, oh my gosh, phenomenal. Like, that was so genius. I think everyone should just rewind those last few minutes and just watch them 10 times. I think I'm going to. So amazing. Yes. Let's see. I'm going to answer. Let's go back to some of these earlier questions. They're really, really good. How about when the woman is less talkative than the man? I'm dating a guy. He talks a lot. I think he thought I was less interested because I'm quieter. What if it's kind of like the other way around? Do you have any tips for how she can connect with him there?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, gosh, it's a big question and I don't have much information. But if he's talking so much where you like, look, some couples that can just work. I mean, that can be joyful for some couples. It's like there's no one size fits all. So I think the point is, though, to have conversations about this. If he's talking in a way where you feel like you can't get any words in and that's hurtful, you're not feeling seen, you need to tell him that. You need to ask for more space. Maybe, can you ask me more questions about myself? Can you invite me into more to the conversation? again, this is really specific to each couple. So I don't like one size fits all solutions, but I hope that's helpful. I mean, it really depends on what's happening for you
Yeah,
specifically.
it was really helpful. I've been getting a lot of questions just like that lately, so I just wanted to include that.
Hmm.
Someone else said, will being vulnerable and sharing secrets or fears with a man create a deeper connection? It sounds like this guy's pretty shut down. She's wondering if being vulnerable helps to foster that connection.
Not if you're trying to get him to show up. If you're trying to get him to do anything, you both lose.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just have to jump and say that's so true. She also said he's emotionally shut down like Fort Knox, always had bad relationships in the past, so he's super guarded. So I'm so glad you said, can you speak a little more to that? That was brilliant.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I'm a huge fan of getting support. My partner is a marriage and family therapist. I'm a relationship coach. We both work with our own coaches and a therapist also together. So, we're not supposed to do this alone. And if he's really emotionally shut down, there's a lot of reasons why he may be there. And you just trying to chisel away at his armor might just be making it worse for him. Might just because he may not feel safe with you, ironically, safe to be where he is and who he is. There's a reason those walls are up. It's not your fault. But if you're trying to, as I said, if you're trying to get him to do something that he isn't in his body ready to do, you're probably making it worse.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh gosh, we could just talk forever about that. But that was such a great answer. Someone else asked, what are the signs that a man really wants that deep, lasting connection with you? Great question. Do you have any like signs to look out for?
Yeah. Well, when you put up a boundary that is a way of honoring yourself, he leans into whatever discomfort shows up for him to show up and meet you there. Again, it may not be easy for him, it may not be comfortable. He might even kick and fight a little bit, like, oh, I don't want that. Why do you need that? But in the end, when you hold true to yourself, you'll know he's ready because he keeps showing up. He comes back. And I don't mean in a week or a month. I mean the same day. That's how you know. I mean, that the boundaries are the best filter that you could ever have to keep the riffraff out, the wishy-washy boys out, and allow the men who are willing to grow and lean into their discomfort and to challenge themselves and to show up for love. Boundaries are the best tool that you can use to know what you've got in front of you in a man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. I always talk about keeping your boundaries on the inside, right? So that someone can actually get close to you, not like these walls that we could tend to want to build around us on the outside so that no one can get in. And if you guys want to learn exactly how to do this, check out Bryan's Boundaries program. It's the first link in the description. If you just click right below this video. Phenomenal program. Everyone go check that out. Great question from Abir. She says, the thing with men is they connect differently. For me, I need a lot of talking, but to my boyfriend, a short phone call to check in on me or a few texts a day is enough for him. Can you touch on that? We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Anything else you have to say on that?
Absolutely. I want to let's look at this in the context of how we've evolved. It's only in the last, maybe 100 years that men and women have really been living with each other for emotional connection. Up until about 100 years ago, for thousands of years, men and women, we were living in villages. Men were spending a lot of time with other men. Women were spending a lot of time with other women. We were coming together for economic reasons at best, or to have children to plow fields. And like, as a woman, you're trying to get something from a man that evolution has not prepared him for, and vice versa. So it's so important that, one of the things that I want couples to always know is that it's not the tension between you. It's not the challenges between you that are the problem. It's your thinking that you have to resolve all of that tension, that you have to make it go away. You have to fix it so that it's not there. That's the problem. There's always going to be a difference in how you connect. One of the things, give me an example. One of the things that, so my partner, I've seen this happen many times in my life with women, but my tone of voice affects her feelings. And as I told you, when I made that call with my partner to call her in the morning, yeah, babe, how you doing? Yup, you sleeping? Blah, 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 blah. I realized pretty quickly that doesn't work for her. So whenever I answer the phone, whenever we talk on the phone now, and I do not love talking on the phone still, but whenever I talk on the phone, I raise my voice about, to Mariah Carey octaves. Hi, babe. Hi, babe. How you doing? How are you? I'm exaggerating a little bit, but really, hi, hey, babe. How are you? How you feel? Helena, I don't talk like that to anybody in the world. And I wouldn't talk like that to her if I didn't think it made a difference for her. But it's something I do, and it's not comfortable, but I do it as a bridge to make her to just help her feel connected. It doesn't do anything for me. It's even a little annoying in my voice, but it's a bridge that I build to meet her where she's at. And she does countless things like that back for me.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. There's a lot, you just answered a lot of questions that people asked that I didn't even ask out loud about
Oh, great.
tone of voice when texting. Someone asked if his texting tone is kind of dry, and I don't know. Anything you have to say to apply this to texting?
Yeah, do not use texting to connect.
Oh,
Use
great
use
point.
texting
Yeah.
to convey information. If you need to convey information, fine. I'm going to be here at this time. And look, uh, most of us men, we don't really feel very manly when we put heart emojis in our texts. I'm just going to say that we may do it, but we're doing it for you, not because it's a expression of our rawr. Don't use text for connection. Voice, even better in person. I know some of you watching are long distance. That's why I say having connection rituals is so important. You got to know that him texting you while he's at work annoys him. It's annoying to him. He may do it as a gift and offering to you, but the masculine, and when I say the masculine, I mean just testosterone in our body is very focusing. And when we are focused and doing in our work, whatever that may be, whether it's chopping wood or speaking at the United Nations, when we're on our mission, and all of a sudden this thing over here texts say, hey, give me attention, it occurs as an annoyance. It's not your fault. That happens for every man, more or less. Just know that happens. And so you need to put your connection rituals in the right place, before you go to bed, first thing in the morning, at lunchtime. It's like, but this is where you have agreements with each other.
I love that. And I can even relate to that too. When I'm in my masculine energy, working, trying to finish something, and I'm getting texts coming through, I'm just like, I can't deal with that right now. Like, I even relate to that when I'm in my masculine energy. And it's not a bad thing. It's not that I don't care about it, right? So yeah, that was really helpful. I feel like we could do a whole nother video just on what you just said right there. That was really helpful. Like, I just learned a lot right there too. Like, that men don't connect, because we feel really connected when we get a text from a guy that we like. We're like, oh my gosh, it puts a smile on our face. We're like happy for the next couple hours. It's not the same for men, right?
No, I mean, literally it releases oxytocin in your body. It does. It releases oxytocin. Oxytocin is that yummy chemical that bonds you to each other, to your baby, to a man, it doesn't happen for men that way. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice, saying I love you, even to a man, saying I love you does not have the same effect as saying I trust you. Saying I love you to a man, okay, it's nice, good, she loves me, great, cool, okay, I'm working here, you love me, okay, great, babe, I love you too. It's sort of, we can just, yeah. But I trust you, holy shit, I trust you means, like, notice it's freedom. It's freedom. I trust you're not going to hurt me. It's I feel safe with you. It's like the first one, the boundaries, the second one, freedom. So it's a whole different thing. So these little text messages are little ways of saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Yeah, I love you. And eventually, again, if we have any sense of mission, and again, mission could just be, look, I'm driving to go get gas. Leave me alone for a minute. I need to fucking get gas. Whatever. It's an annoyance to that masculine drive. It's not personal. It's not at all personal. I mean, my partner is like what you just said, Helena. My partner, when she's in her go mode and I want her attention, it's a little annoying to her. It's not personal. That's just the mode.
Oh,
So
yeah, absolutely not personal. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm like learning a lot right now. I always get excited when I'm like, this was so phenomenal. Someone's asking, what's an example of a connection ritual, specifically
yeah,
if you're long distance that doesn't, if texting isn't it, then what is it?
just it is not texting. I'm not saying don't text. You can text, but just do not make that the connection ritual. A connection ritual would be an example. So I'll tell you, many years ago, I didn't work with this couple, but I spoke briefly with a couple that 5 years they were living on opposite coasts. And one thing that they would do is every single morning, despite the time difference, every single morning they would get on Skype for 15 minutes and do morning gratitude together. Just do a little ritual of morning gratitude, 15 minutes. What are three things I'm grateful for? What are three things you're grateful for? And that's what they would do on Skype, on video. That's a connection ritual. Same thing at night before they went to bed. You know, again, there's 3 hours difference, but I can't remember exactly what they did, if one would sleep and then wake up or just one, but they connected visually, eyeballs involved, voice, not just words. Please, if you get nothing else from this, do not expect to connect through text messaging. No, 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 no. Eyeballs are needed. Tone of voice is needed. Body language is needed. So those are connection rituals. And the thing is, it's unrealistic, even if you live together, to expect that you're going to be connected throughout the day. Connection rituals can be 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Some ritual. You know, my partner and I, no matter what happens during the day, we do two things. We live together, we work at home together. We do two things consistently every morning, and I wake up hours before she does. But when she wakes up, even if I'm out in my work mode, I stop and we have our morning hug, a real hug. You know, that's a first ritual that we have. And then whatever else we may do during the day, then at nighttime when we go to sleep, we go to sleep together. We turn off the light. You know, before we turn off the light, we spend a few minutes, and it can be awkward and giggly and fun, but we're connecting with each other. We're present with each other. I just realized how important that was today as I was working with another couple who doesn't ever do that. So, you know, you need connection rituals whether you're long distance or not, but you don't have a relationship without connection. I hope that's
I
helpful.
Yes, that was so amazingly helpful. And everyone's saying this means a lot. Never thought about this. Connection rituals. I love it. This is awesome info. Thank you. It's just on and on. This is the most live viewers we've ever had, by the way. So I know you guys, how awesome is Bryan, you guys? Should we bring him back on for another one? This is like, I love, like you said, never heard it put that way before. Yeah, it's so good. Someone else asked, let's see. Oh my God, it's like you read my mind. I annoy my man a lot while he's working and I try to connect and get something from him and he gets annoyed, yet he tries to please me. I now respect him more. Yes,
Yeah.
it sounds like that was
Good.
helpful for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. How to set healthy boundaries when a guy is the player type and get him to respect you without making him flee or acting too controlling?
Well, I mean, look, I encourage you to always stay out of his business. Stay out of his business. I mean, the player type. You know, a lot of women in my earlier days assumed I was a player. I didn't even know what that meant. I mean, I know what it meant, but it was so not my experience. But I got that projected onto me, and you're going to get lost trying to figure out what the hell is going on for him. Again, whether it's a man you're just dating or whether it's a man you've been with for 20 years, you do not know what's happening in his experience. Rather, have your boundaries. Know what is your requirement to feel safe. And again, this is, you know, Sylvie and I in our boundaries program, we teach you this. We teach you how to distinguish between a request, which is something that you would like to have, but you're not going to end the relationship if you don't have it, versus a requirement, which is I am not going to do relationship if this is not happening. And that could be as simple as daily contact, just for example, because some men can. You know, I actually could go a few days without, probably not anymore, but before, well, even today still, I could probably go a few days without talking with my partner. I'd be fine. She'd be a mess. Wouldn't work for her. So we talk every day. There's not a day goes by that I mean, we live with each other, but sometimes she'll stay at her parents, or I'll go on a business trip or what have you. And we still talk every day because that is what she requires to feel safe and connected. And she doesn't get in my business about what's going on for me or who I'm being this way or that. Stay out of his business. Just be in the business of honoring yourself and let everything else take care of itself. And if you're chasing after a guy, you know, I said that I think I wrote this on one of my Instagram posts that was really, really appreciated, really well received. It's that do not commit yourself to a man who is not clear in his commitments. Certainly not who's not clear in his commitment to you. Do not commit yourself to a man. I'll say that one more time. Do not commit yourself to a man who is not clear in his commitment to you. That is a recipe for disaster otherwise.
Oh my gosh. I think that's just like a quote that needs to be on like, so that one, and then be in the business of honoring yourself and everything else takes care of the rest, rather than being all in his business. Oh my gosh, that was so brilliant. Okay, last couple questions, because I know we both have to go. How can let's see, what's the problem when a man writes me almost every day, talks about meeting up, but never makes it? Someone else asked, how do I know if he's too scared to tell me he likes me? Maybe he's too scared to admit that to himself. I think you kind of answered both of those with what you said, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Boundaries. Look, guys can do and say all they want, but if they aren't, if they aren't showing up in support of what they're proclaiming, what they're saying or speaking, then obviously there's a disconnect there, and you have to decide: do you want to be with a man who is incongruent with himself? It's a boundary question.
Yeah, amazing. So everyone, by the way, go check out Bryan's program. It's the first link in the description of this video. Let me just check in with everyone real quick. Thank you. This is awesome. Info. Being present is everything. I love this guy. He brought up so much perspective. We women need to understand. Oh my gosh, I totally agree. Everyone's saying bring him back. Loving this. I love this guy. This insight is awesome. Truly. Yes, more Bryan. Yes, bring him back. This is the most live viewers I've ever had. This is amazing. Thanks, guys. This is awesome. I love this topic. Yes, he's good. You ladies should check a video him and Helena did a while back. Oh yeah, I'll post a link to our last video. Yeah. That was awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I know we actually have to run, but we're a little over on time. But let's recap those 3 ways to connect with a man, and then anything else you'd like to share before we close out.
Sure. So number 1, all counterintuitive, but if you want to deeply connect with a man without losing yourself, that's key. Number 1, have boundaries. Have boundaries that honor you, not control him, but honor you. Number 2, honor his freedom. He's a grown man. You shouldn't be dating boys. You shouldn't be going after teenage boys unless you're a teenage girl. But if you're not, you should be, calling in men to your life. And men are free to do what they want, but they're not free to hurt you. Right? Honor his freedom, but have your boundaries. Right? And finally, remind him, and he's going to need the reminder, that he doesn't have to fix you or fix your emotions or fix your upset. If there are boundary conversations, boundary violations that are happening, you need to talk about that. And again, in our boundaries program, we teach you how to have those conversations. We give you scripts on how to do that. So, but other than that, you're going to get upset. There's going to be misunderstandings. He's going to say things that, if he said it to his guy friend, it'd be fine. It'd be funny. But you're going to be completely offended. He's not going to understand what just happened. It's going to happen for the rest of your life together. It's okay. Just remind him that you just want to be heard, right? Not fixed. And he won't understand. He won't believe you, but just keep reminding him. And you'll notice when he relaxes and just starts to listen.
Amazing. Yes. Thank you so much for that. Someone said, thanks. That's what I'm doing. In truth, he's acting indecisive, but made him get I wasn't going to stick around if there's no constructive gestures. Everyone. Okay. So what's his name? Bryan Reeves, Bryan with a Y.
Bryan with a Y. Thank you.
What's your Instagram? Everyone's asking like how they can learn more about you. So anything
yeah, definitely. My Instagram it's Bryan with a Y, Bryan Reeves Insight. Bryan Reeves Insight is my Instagram, and I've been actually spending a lot more time there. And just also on my website, bryanreeves.com. It's Bryan with a Y, REEVES.com. The boundaries program there, and right now, I don't know if you're watching this live. Right now, the price is only $67, down from $147, which will go up again soon. So please dive on that. But you can get also on my website. I have so many blogs and my new podcast, Men This Way, is there. And also sign up on my email list and get 7 free short videos to better understand your partner from a man's perspective, from my perspective. So all that's there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am going to do that personally because I always learn so much from talking to you. Brandy said, found you last week. I'm hooked on your videos, watching while at work. Yes, I'm so glad you've enjoyed them. Janice said, I feel like I've won the lottery by coming across this live chat. So happy to hear that. Thanks for the video. Please bring him back. You two are lifesavers. Yeah, so people are asking for like a link to your podcast and your website and everything. Maybe I can include those after you publish that.
Yep.
Okay.
It's all just you know, you have the boundaries program, bryanreeves.com/boundaries. It's just bryanreeves.com. It's there too, but you can put that in the notes. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, and get your free gift. I know you have a great free gift, 7 videos on
my Instagram too. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So I will include links to everything. Everyone wants to get in touch with you and get connected. And
thank you.
Yeah, so this was phenomenal, Bryan. Thank you so much. I really hope we can do this again soon.
Absolutely.
Really, really great. Maybe, you know, next month or something we could do another one.
To.
Yeah. So for everyone watching, you know, feel free to share this video with someone, you know, who might need it, and probably watch it again too. I know I'm going to, because you'll probably digest it in a whole different way. There's so much valuable information here. So thank you so much again, Bryan. This was great. Always have so much fun doing these videos with you. And I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks, Elena. Bye.